So I want to talk about two of the other power principles that we use. The main ones are backup mass, marriage of gravity, and torque, right? A couple of the other ones that we use are opposing forces and borrowed force. And a lot of people get confused which one's which, and I hope I can help you out. I'm going to give you a couple different ways to think about it so that you're going to get it. So opposing, when you say opposing forces, opposing means they're either opposing this way or they're opposing this way. And it could be on diagonals or whatever, but they're either coming towards each other or away from each other, okay? So that would be opposing. When we do a sandwich, I just talked about this in one of my other videos, the power principle on a sandwich is opposing forces. So if I shuffle in and I do a sandwich, me shuffling forward had nothing to do with me hitting sideways. That's all opposing forces. And if I did a vertical sandwich, like I was a different technique, where I'm hitting up with a knee and down with a hammer fist, well, you can see that's going up and down. They are opposing each other. Another way I look at it, and this is just me, is that I'm the one that's causing opposing forces, or I'm the one using opposing forces, okay? When we do, I'm going to jump up to brown, grasping eagles. So grasping eagles is, well, because it has eagles in the name, that means it's grabs. So grasping eagles, two grabs. So guys got me from the front, guys got me from behind, all right? So we just talked about opposing forces going towards each other, either up or horizontally or vertically. Now I'm going to show you opposing forces going away. So if I was standing here and somebody's grabbing me, I'm going to drop my, if you know the technique, I'm going to drop my weight, hit the arm, hit the guy in the groin, and kick this guy. So I don't care about this hand all that much. What we're looking at is the kick and the hammer fist. So I don't care about this hand. I'll do it. So, but as we do that hit, you drop down and just hit back behind you, okay? So there's an example. I'm kicking this way, and I'm hammering this way as we go through. So that's opposing forces going out instead of going in, all right? And again, I caused it. So that's the opposing forces part. Once we get to borrowed force, I like to think of borrowed force as he's or she is kind of involved in the whole thing or causing it, all right? So if I'm doing thrusting salute out of orange, the guy's trying to kick me, and I shoot this down, and then I'm stepping in with the kick. I kick him and palm him because his head's shooting forward. That's going to be more borrowed force, okay? So if I kick the guy in the groin or I knee him and his head's coming at me and I elbow him in the head, that's borrowed force. Here's the big distinction in my brain, at least. Borrowed force doesn't have to be straight in or straight out. When we do a technique, I'm going to jump more towards the end of the system, leap of death, okay? So if we're doing a technique like leap of death, where I'm standing here, the guy's coming in with a punch and he's coming deep. I bring my hand up, I grab his arm, step back, and I'm going to do a C break on his elbow before I go into the rest of the technique. He's coming at me. So again, he has something to do with it, okay? He's coming at me this way. I come up, I grab the arm, step back, turn, and break. That's borrowed force. I borrowed all his momentum, but see, it wasn't going towards each other. It wasn't going away. We were both going this way, all right? So that's another good example of borrowed force, but not going against each other, if that makes sense. So borrowed force is definitely different from opposing forces because there were no opposing forces at that point. All the forces kept going the same direction. So that is how I think of borrowed force, just to let you know. Now, when I'm doing thrusting salute, I'm going to show you examples. A lot of people think borrowed reach is borrowed force, or borrowed reach is a power principle, and it's just not. So I'm going to give an example. So if I'm standing here, some guy's throwing a right kick at me. I'm going to block his kick and step back, and then it is borrowed force and borrowed reach, because at this point, I can't reach the guy. When I turn to do my kick and my kick's coming up, he's still at kick range. I need my kick to make him bend forward into my palm. So that is borrowed force and borrowed reach, because I needed his head to come forward for me to hit him, okay? Now, if we look at an example with just borrowed reach, I'm going to do a right hook instead of a right palm, okay? So if I'm standing here like this, and the guy's trying to kick me, and I step off to my corner, I'm coming back up with my hand. If I came back up, I kicked him, and I landed with a right hook, because I know his head's coming in. The kick made him bend forward, because he reacted to it, and I did a right hook. That is just borrowed reach. If his head was coming towards me, this way, and I hit it this way, there's no opposing forces, there's no borrowed force. I just used borrowed reach, and that's it. So this is an example of how you could do borrowed reach, and it's not a power principle. A lot of times, it is connected with borrowed force, okay? A lot of times, but not always. So I hope that clears some stuff up for you. And hey, don't forget, subscribe, leave some comments, talk to me, all right? I'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you for watching this video production from Kenpo University.